there was some technical delay as well.
Ms. Nishi, you can start.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Good
Tina.
evening, ma'am.
Hi, hi.
Shall I start?
Yes.
True inspiration for all of us lies in our mirror. Your life is your biggest teacher. I think each one of us is inspired by our own struggles. It is perfectly quoted by one of the speakers which we have today. With this, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Nishi Garg, welcome you all to the talk series of Make Dhanush, Unveiling the Pridepreneurs, organized by Entrepreneurship Cell, Amity University, Rajasthan, in association with Amity Innovation Incubator, Jaipur, supported by Atal Innovation Mission and Institutions Innovation Council. Make Dhanush is an initiative by ESEL AUR, where we are inviting entrepreneurs and speakers from the Pride community to inspire us and give insights about different aspects around us. We believe that their views will create an impact on everyone attending the sessions. As we all know, every beautiful beginning of a talk show is incomplete without a great speaker. So with this, I take an opportunity and extend my warm welcome to the speaker of the first talk show, Mr. Harish Iyer. A columnist, an activist, an author, a blogger, a TEDx speaker, and whatnot. Mr. Harish is the head of diversity, equity, and inclusions at Axis Bank. He is also the co-founder of the Jimmy Foundation. He has written articles and letters on the subject and appeared on top national television news shows to highlight the plight of LGBTQ community in India. He has also been part of Satyamev Jayate, and his life has inspired 2 films, director Onir's I Am and Judhadit Bagchi and Randeep Bhattacharya's directed Amen. I would also like to welcome our special guest representing Access Women in Motion, Ms. Tina Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic for today's talk show is Inspiring Young Minds with Harish Iyer. You all can post your questions and queries in the chat box. Sir?
Thank you so much, Nishi. My name is Harish. My pronouns are he or she. So don't assume that I might be a Mr. You could call me Miss as well, Nishi. I'll be absolutely okay with it, right? And I don't understand why we write Mr. When we write Mr. and Miss, where MS, and we write MRS also. Can you tell me a title where you can find out whether a man is married or not? There's no title where you can find out whether a man is married or not. Whether you have MS and you have MRS. MS stands for Ms. actually, which stands for both married and unmarried women. But there's no title for men. So we live in an unequal world, and our titles are depictions of the same. So today I'm going to be speaking about I'm going to be speaking about pride and pride in the larger context of things. Pride in being who we are, pride in being what our identities are, and pride in bringing all our identities to every phase of our life, every aspect of our life. I happen to be gay. I am a homosexual person, and I don't know if you accept me or not, but you all are different and I accept you the way you are. So if you are accepting me, you're not doing me a favor, you're returning the favor. So do remember that, right? Because I've always accepted heterosexuals in my life. My parents are heterosexual. My brother is heterosexual. My neighbor is heterosexual. In fact, everyone around me is heterosexual. I have very few number of people who happen to be homosexual, and half of them I'm wishing that they would be my boyfriends, right? So that's about sexuality. When we speak about sexuality, when we are speaking about sexuality, when we go to work, when I go to Axis Bank, okay, do I leave my sexuality at home and go to Axis Bank? Do I go to work to the bank every day, leaving my sexuality at home? Well, if you think that I leave my sexuality at home, what are the discussions that heterosexual people have in office during the dining table? oh, today in the afternoon, I left my husband troubles me quite a lot. He doesn't do his work on time. I have to do the dishes all the time, says the man, says the woman. But this is the story of every household. But they feel very comfortable speaking about their heterosexual lives out in the open, even when they're speaking about their children, when they're speaking about their husband's anniversary, when they're speaking about picking up their child from school. They all are bringing their heterosexual lives to office. So we don't have a problem with people bringing their sexuality off to office. We have a problem when we people bring their homosexuality or transgenderism to office. Not in my office though. I mean, in Axis, we are an equal opportunities employer, and we have a rule to this regard also. We have an anti-discrimination rule within Axis Bank. And not only that, we also have, I'm not going to make this about Axis Bank. I'm just mentioning about the bank so that there are others who could draw threats from this and include these things in your offices as well. And not just Axis. I mean, there are other organizations also. There's Godrej, there's Keshav Suri Foundation, and the Lalit Suri Group of Hotels, right? So you have Tata Steel. You have different organizations who stand up. You have KPMG, so you have different organizations who stand up and accept people the way they are. In 2014, there was a study done by World Bank, and the study showed that the economic cost of homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, queerphobia is 1.1% of the GDP. That means that 1.1% is what India loses because of homophobia. And how does that impact? How does that play out in our everyday life? And in our everyday lives, if I was going to office and I'm going to be bothered about people finding out if I was gay or not, or I'm not able to express myself, like if I'm not able to tell my boss, her name is Vaijayanti, if I'm not able to call her up and tell her, you know what, I'm going on a date today and that's why I cannot come to work. Okay. I'm never bunked because of a date, but I'm just saying, like if I have to go on a Sunday somewhere and I'm going to say that, this is something that I can't do because I'm going on a date. Okay. And I don't have to lie that I actually went with this girl on Monday. I don't have to go to her, oh, I went with this girl and this thing. I can actually tell her that, I went with this guy and it was a good date that I had. Just bringing my whole self to work. I have nothing to hide. When you have nothing to hide and you have everything to confide, you will thrive. You will thrive at work because you don't have, your energies are going to be focused more on bringing bringing the quality to work rather than hiding yourself. So that's how homophobia cripples people. Also, many a times there are jibes about general conversations about people don't understand, which I understand. There are times when you don't understand. You might not know what do two boys do with each other. Okay, it's another thing that it's none of your business. But if you really want to know also that you don't know what it's do, okay, please Google up. You can take your time to understand what is homosexuality, what is transgenderism. You can take your time to understand these things, but respect cannot be a choice. Respect cannot be a choice at your workplace. So that's something that many organizations need to stand up and respect. In many institutions, Amity Institute should have, you should just get rid of the Mr. Miss thing altogether, or put your gender pronouns in. Okay. Not that I'm not saying that at Axis Bank we have arrived and we have achieved everything. We have not, and we will never believe that we have, simply because society is a changing phenomena. How can we be static and say that we have arrived when society is changing continuously, right? So as a matter of fact, I think it becomes important for us to speak about these issues when we undress issues. Okay, to address issues, you need to undress them. What I mean by undressing them is speak about uncomfortable issues, speak about sex, sexuality, and gender. Okay, many people don't know the difference between sex and gender. Do you know, Nishi, what's the difference between sex and gender?
It's not exactly.
Nothing. I'm not putting you on a spot. Okay. We don't know. Many of us don't know.
Right.
Now, sex is something that you are, when you're born with a penis, the nurse comes and says, Mubarak ho, ladka hua hai. If you're born with a vagina, the nurse comes and says, Mubarak ho, ladki hui hai. If the child is born with ambiguous genitalia, the nurse says ki the child is intersex, so that is sex, male, female, and intersex. What is gender? Gender is what I tell you I am. Gender is a social construct, is a societal construct. So when I was born, the nurse saw that I was born with a penis and the nurse said, Mubarak ho, ladka hua hai. But I grew up, and if I say that main ladki hu, I'm a woman, then that's called transgender. I don't need to have had an operation done for that, right? And if the nurse said that my ladka, that Mubarak saw that I had a vagina, and when I was born, and when I grew up, I actually proclaimed that I'm actually a man, then I'm a trans man. So that is what is this thing. But I'm gender fluid. I go with both pronouns he or she. Okay, I'm pretty comfortable with. I don't think being called a woman is any kind of a swear word. I'm very happy being called a woman. Okay, in fact, in my office, they were celebrating Women's Day. I had very recently joined office, and they were sending out these roses to everybody, all the women in the organization. I have a colleague called him Gauri. So I went up to her and I said, "Okay, give me a rose." I said, "No, this is for women." So I smiled. I put my hand on my hip and I said, "I'm a woman. Give me the rose." so yeah. So sometimes you need to assert yourself, but it should not be on the queer person. The responsibility should not be on the person who's different. The onus of inclusion should not be on the person who's different. The onus of inclusion should be on those who are included, not on those who are excluded. The ones who are included, the ones who form the majority, the onus of inclusion should fall on those, not on those who are, and this holds true for everything. This holds true for religion, this holds true for caste, this holds true for gender, this holds the ones who are in larger numbers who hold the voice are responsible, should be responsible to ensure that the ones who are smaller in number are given both the voice and a choice. So that becomes extremely important. Like for instance, the way we celebrate festivals. Okay, we often celebrate, we celebrate Diwali and we expect everyone to participate in Diwali, irrespective of their religions. How many times have we participated in Eid? How many times have we participated in Christmas beyond Secret Santa? Okay, beyond Secret Santa, not just for the name of it, but not just for the fun of it, but for other things as well. So I think these things, the onus of inclusion always lands on those who are included, and that's the inclusion principle that we follow in Access as well. The other thing that's important that I think from a student standpoint is to understand there are three things that are extremely important in our life, not just in your organization or where you go to work, in your life. One is diversity. If diversity was this hand for that matter, there are 5 different people. Each finger is a different person. So you have different people. So somebody is a person with disability, somebody is a woman, somebody is a man, somebody is a person from a historically marginalized community, somebody happens to be economically challenged. So you have 5 different people. Now, if I was to tell you that these 5 people are coming to Amity University, okay, Amity University, Rajasthan, and they all are leaving from the same place and they're trying to reach. Okay, this is diversity. You have diverse people at Amity. All of those 5 people are coming to Amity University, right? Now they're coming to Amity University. Now tell me who will reach Amity University first? It's just a matter of coincidence that the middle finger happens to be a man. No pun intended there. Okay, so yeah, so who will come first? So the truth is that the ones with most privilege, the ones who have a car, will reach first. Okay, The one who's traveling by bus will reach possibly second, right? The third person would be the economically challenged person, will possibly wait for the right bus, which is not a limited bus, which will give the person, ensure that the person doesn't have to pay much money. Okay, but the physically person with physical disability will have to take an about route because there are no facilities available to the person, right? There are no, even if Amity University has got the best of, you have got ramps and everything for a physically, for a person with disability, that person will go where the roads are not there. The roads in Jaipur, Rajasthan are not as friendly to persons with disability as it's a, so that person will take a longer route and will reach possibly late. If it's a woman, possibly the woman will have to escape a certain route where there are some rowdy boys who are looking at the woman. So she will also possibly come late. So while you're saying that we respect everyone who is diverse, right? And you're saying if this is Amity University, once you reach Amity University, we all will be treated as equal, right? Equality is not that equal. Because if you say that everyone has to reach college at 9:30, not everyone can reach college at 9:30 because somebody has to leave home at 5 o'clock, at 8 o'clock, somebody has to leave at 8:30, and somebody has to, depending on the mode of transport, proximity, and their own physical challenges that they would face, or the societal pressures that they would face to reach office. So while diversity is there and inclusion is after you reach Amity, the most important aspect becomes equity. Now, equity simply means that if there are, how can you ensure that there is access to everybody? Like, for instance, if there is a person with disability, you allow the person to come in late. Okay. If there happens to be a place where women find it difficult to navigate, you ensure that you have a bus or something where women could come in. I'm not saying that it's unsafe. There could be unsafe for men also, for that matter. Okay. This is not the classic debate of men's rights activists versus women's rights activists. In fact, feminism as a theory stands for equal rights of everybody. It doesn't stand for, it doesn't say that women are prioritized or anything of that kind, right? So anyone who says that, you're not a feminist, anyone says that they're not a feminist, that means they don't stand for equal rights, right? So this is what the thing is. So what becomes extremely important is equity part, and especially from when you're speaking from the LGBT community or also from marginalized communities and women, equity becomes the most important aspect that we need to focus on. Okay, so equity is the most important thing. It's basically saying that there are different people who require different kinds of support. It doesn't paint everyone with the same brush, right? So while diversity and inclusion becomes the cornerstones of any organization or any society, equity becomes the most important thing, because people are not equal. And people will be equal only if there is a level playing field. There is no level playing field. People have come from different aspects. Can you tell me who's the captain of the Indian cricket team? Nishi?
Yes, sir.
Who's the captain of the Indian cricket
Virat
team?
Kohli.
Huh?
Mr. Virat Kohli.
Mr. Virat Kohli. Okay. Nishi, the captain of the Indian cricket team is Mithali Raj.
Right. Okay.
Right? And Virat Kohli.
And Virat Kohli. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We didn't look at that because what appears to us as the popular opinion becomes our opinion. And that's what we need to be cognizant of. We need to pause. We need to pause and reflect on what we are saying many a times. I remember sharing the dais with Mithali Raj once at We the Woman, Barkha Dutt's conference that I was a part of. And Mithali was mentioning over there that, मैं कुछ भी कर लूं, I'll always be called female Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin Tendulkar will never be called the male Mithali Raj. Can you tell me who is the first person to score, the first cricketer to score a double century in one-day internationals? Bharat, do you know? No? Sachin Tendulkar? Now you know that could be a trick question. So Shana, you are. Yeah, it's Belinda Clark, not Sachin Tendulkar, right? It was a woman cricketer, right? So many a times we get so colored with things that are around us, and that's why speaking about these things become extremely important. So I'm a gay man, and as I said in the beginning, I accept you the way you are, and you're not doing me a favor if you're accepting me back. You're returning the favor, right? And yeah, you have any questions?
Yes, sir. We did speak about diversity, equity, and inclusions right now. So there are workplaces which have taken hold into diversity and inclusion, but however, they do face a lot of obstacles there. So what are your views about this? Like, how can they overcome it? What changes can they bring in their workplaces?
Well, conversations are the genesis to change. Okay. The genesis of change happens when you converse with people. When people are sitting in different cohorts and you don't speak to them, there will be dissonance. Okay. To speak to people. And there is a lot of unlearning that one has to do when you're at any social gathering. You don't have learnings to do. You have more unlearnings to do. These biases are inherent biases which we have learned over a period of time, whether it comes to LGBT or whether it comes to women. Okay, Tina could possibly speak about that sometime later, where, many women are told that, if they are very aggressive about something and saying that you have to push sales, or if they're saying that if they're upset about something, they would come and they'd be told, don't get too emotional. Men have never been told, don't get too emotional, right? LGBT people are told that why do you have to bring your whole thing? Why can't you come dressed decently? मैं बोला ये इसको decent नहीं बोलेगा तो क्या बोलेगा? ऐसे तुम भी तो decent dress करके आओ फिर. It's another thing to speak about things quirkily. I've reached that stage now, but I had to go through a lot of challenges myself to reach over here. So I think the best thing is to delve in conversations, speak to conversations, and don't try to preach. Try to understand from people what their needs are and what their challenges are. And there will be no acceptance, but respect can never be a choice in any organization. Understanding can be, you can take your time to understand. People have religious beliefs, and people, sometimes they get colored because of religious beliefs. Sometimes they get colored because of something that they've read or some political ideology that they follow. So you might get colored with that. So it might take time for people to understand, but respect cannot be a choice. Okay. So it's not a choice that we leave with people. You can take your time to understand, which is all right. So you have to leave that window open. Yeah.
Right. So definitely not only employers, but employees also should, I would say that they should be open to each other so that it creates a friendly environment for everyone at the workplace. And it's
True.
a pleasure to come at a workplace every day.
Yeah.
Sir, so as we know that you've gone through a lot in the past, but what was the one thing, or what were the things that kept you motivated and inspired which inspired the most in your life?
I think I was always close to nature. In fact, my first email ID was Yash_nature. I don't know why Yash, because I was a Yash Chopra fan at that time. So, all we gay boys used to have we didn't put our real name out there, because I come from a time 20 years before when we used to have Yahoo groups where people never put their names out there. They all had pseudonyms. So I used to call myself, I think I was very grounded to nature. I also believe that not that I'm flawless or anything of that kind. I'm also very flawed. But yeah, but what kept me going was the fact that I always believed that there was light at the end of the tunnel, and it was not the light of another train that was coming. So that was something that I always believed. And before I could even come to terms with my sexuality, I was already grappling with the fact that I was a survivor of child sexual abuse. I was I was in the spotlight for that for quite many years. So I think life teaches you. Life teaches you. Uh, life life gets you to struggle, but also gets you to find a way out of it. I mean, I never gave up in believing that there's light in the end of the tunnel. How I did that? I spoke quite a lot. I spoke to my dog quite a lot. I used to speak to him. Once you empty, for you to gather knowledge, you need to empty knowledge also. You need a lot of unlearning to do so that you learn, right? So I used to speak to my dog. Dog is the inverse of God, right? So I used to speak to my dog quite often, all through the years that I was grappling with childhood trauma, or when I was grappling with my sexuality. I used to speak to my dog quite often.
So we know that you are also the co-founder of Jimmy Foundation. So can you please tell what the organization is about and how does it help?
Well, now it's kind of put on. Now I'm working with Access, so it's kind of put on cold storage. I mean, we do some conversations during Sundays and stuff, but not actively. It's not actively on. So it's an organization named after my dog Jimmy. Jimmy used to be a great listener when I was grappling with child sexual abuse, and I had nobody, because that time it was a myth that I'm talking about 23 years ago. You guys must be 23, right? I'm not asking you your age. ये ऐसे बहाना करके एज नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ. But yeah, so I was around 23 years ago, I spoke up about child sexual abuse. And at that time, no one else was there. So I was bullied, I was teased. People assumed that I was, that I was called all sorts of names like slut and all sorts of colorful names. Uh, but that was, and at that time, my dog came to my rescue. He used to listen to me. And when he passed away, I had made a promise to him that I will speak to, uh, I will become you for other survivors of child sex abuse. And I've almost spoken to around 8 lakh survivors till now of child sexual abuse.
So I read somewhere that Jimmy Foundation also works on bridging the gap between instructors and children's.
Yes.
So what advice would you like to give to our instructors, children, and parents attending this session today?
Listen to your children. Okay. Children are never, and speak to them about sex, sexuality, and gender. बच्चे भगवान का देन नहीं है. माँ बाप सेक्स करते हैं तो पैदा होते हैं. It's okay to tell your child that. Okay. And you don't need to possibly give it age appropriate. I mean, don't tell a 5-year-old child that this is sex. And then the child will ask, what is that called? Okay. But at least when the child grows up, tell the child, have open and honest conversation. Don't lie to your children in the garb of protecting their innocence, because they're going to learn bad words from the world anyways. Before they learn before they learn penis and vagina, they're going to learn words like BC and MC from the world, right? So you might as well teach them the right words tell them when they point at their body parts, tell them that this is body part, this body part is called so. Don't give it funny names, and tell them if anything, something happens to them, they are not at fault, and you will trust them. Give them the belief, because 1 in 2 children in this country are survivors of child sex abuse. So though we might try to protect our children, and around the same amount of within queer people, around many queer people, many queer children, the suicide rates amongst queer children is also quite high. So if you don't want your child to grapple with their sexuality or grapple with an incident of child sexual abuse, speak to them. Speak to them when they're young, when they're growing up. Give age-appropriate information. Tell them all kinds of love is valid. If you are bigoted, please get educated yourself. And if you don't get educated, don't have children. Anyway, adopt a dog or a cat or a child, or adopt children also.
Right. So I believe that there's a student in you forever, and learning to unlearn and relearn is what defines you the best. So what is your inspiration behind continuous learning?
Well, I'm still a student. I've enrolled
Right.
for a MSc from IGNU. I think it's one of the best phases of your life, to be associated with students, to speak to students. I never want to believe that I've arrived at a space where I know everything. That's where my downfall begins. So yeah, so I don't want to be ever this extra gyani jisko sab kuch aata hai. Okay.
So we have a question in the chat box, and I would like to address it to you.
Yeah.
Do you think that being from the queer community gives you such a strong tag that it is seen by people that as a USP, and probably anything you do is associated with it? For instance, gay writer, gay designer, etc.
Yeah, it is a tag. We wish that I was not, you know, I was not the gay person. But sometimes it's necessary also, because for diversity you need to label, so that we come to a point where we don't have to label, right? I wish that we get so equal that we just speak about designers and cricketers. And it's not just queer people, it's also women. As I said, we just played that trick, right, on you. Mitali Raj, who's the cricketer? Virat Kohli, not Mitali Raj, right? So yeah, so I think it's not just LGBT people, but everybody. But there should be a point where we come to a point where we don't. That's the ideal world where there are no labels, and I don't feel happy being called a gay anything. I'd be happy called just Harish, who has achieved this, a person who has achieved this. But yeah, but I do understand that we are still only in the beginning of things. So till that time, it'll be like the gay man who has done this, or the queer man who has done this.
So also that as we all know that we live in a world where toxic masculinity is one of the major issues. Because of this, many individuals are not comfortable in their own skin, as they are in constant fear of being judged by others. So what are your views on this?
I think toxic masculinity doesn't affect women alone, it affects men too.
Mhm.
In fact, I don't look at toxic masculine people as perpetrators alone. I look at them as victims. Look at them as victims of patriarchy, where where the culture of patriarchy flows from one generation to another, and they've just imbibed that within them. So start looking at them as victims and not the other people as victims. And the perpetrators are the first victims, so they need counseling. Definitely need counseling. I
Right.
wish that they take counseling.
So in like we talk in India, opening about your sexuality or speaking to people about them is still a taboo. So you think educational institutions can help in help?
Well, schools and colleges should speak about this. Homes should speak about this. I don't think the 2018 verdict very clearly mentions that I was one of the people, I'm an impleader in this through 2018 case. Very clearly mentions that the onus is on all parties to ensure that there is much education and there's less of stigma. 2021, there's a verdict by Madras High Court, which actually makes it illegal to offer conversion therapy. So there is progress that's there, but India is opening up. But the onus falls on all of us. As I said, the onus of inclusion lies on those who are included, not on those who are excluded, not on one party. You can't just blame the government or the judiciary or the parents or the school, everyone, and it has to start young. That's true.
Right, so definitely, and we'll also help each other and talk to each other about it. Friends can eventually help each other come out.
Yes.
So that
So forget coming out. You need to come in. Don't drag us out of the closet. Come into our closet and see how beautiful it is. Come inside our closet and see how beautiful or suffocating it is. Right? So
right,
come in. So come in as much as you want to come out.
definitely, sir.
Mhm.
Uh, So your words are truly an inspiration for everyone. And I would now like you to introduce our special guest, Miss Tina Thomas, to the audience.
Okay. Hi, Tina is my colleague. Tina is a vice president at Axis Bank. She's a mother, but over here she's not here to speak about uh, Axis Bank on how what we are doing. We realize that the participation of women in the labor force, the labor force participation of women is in an abysmal low level. It is below Saudi Arabia. Okay, believe it or not. Okay, so it becomes extremely important that we have intentional conversations about gender representation as we do about sexuality and other issues out in the open. So our agenda is not about propagating Axis Bank. Axis Women in Motion is an initiative where we get our senior leaders, and many a times you might have not got an interface to interface with Tina, right? So here you have an opportunity where Tina would share her life story with you. It might be a journey that many of you must be taking 2 years, 3 years down the line when you will be in the corporate path after your this thing. But she has reached a certain level, and if she has traveled through the journeys, the trials, the tribulations, and how she reached over there, and still she's going strong in the position that she's in. So probably we all are copycats, we all are Pados ka Pintus. Our parents also basically speak about, the moment you get lesser marks in your exam, then they would say, ki, "Achha, I don't know if Tina does that with her son, but many a times we do the thing now, देखो तुम्हारे बाजू वाले लड़के को, आंटी के शर्मा जी के लड़के को कितने मार्क्स मिले, आपको मार्क्स कितने पे कम कैसे आ गए," right? We often do that. So we all learn from the other. So here's an opportunity for all of us, including me, to learn from Tina. Tina is just going to share her life. She's not going to do something. She's not going to give us some formula or anything of that kind. And in these stories are embedded life lessons that we could imbibe in our lives. Over to you, Tina.
Thanks, Harish. In fact, your story has been really inspiring for me as well. I was, it takes a lot to come out and talk about issues which are real, and my respect for that. And a lot of times we only speak what is right in front of, correct in front of this, the society. But I really appreciate that. It takes a lot of guts, to speak up what you truly believe. And it was a learning experience for me as well, so thanks for that. And thank you, Amity, and everybody on the call to be part, to invite me for this event. I know it's Sunday. I know a lot of you would have sacrificed your Sunday naps and movies and all to be part of this talk, so I won't make it boring. I'm going to just talk about what my life journey was. And it's not a Bollywood story, guys, trust me. It is like every girl next door ka story, the issues, what we face, and there is no mantra to it. So as Harish was talking about equality, so when I was growing up, and I will just give you a brief on my childhood. So we are two sisters. So women were always in majority in the family. My poor dad, who was always in minority. So it was always women. And, we were never taught that, this a boy can do or this a girl can do. So, my start of my childhood was that. So there was nothing called, I was born and brought up in Delhi. So every parent, I don't know how many of you are from Delhi, not a very safe place for girls to grow up. So, we were taught to be, taking care of ourselves, being aggressive, whether your under se halat tight hai, but bahar dikhana hai ki hum bahut strong hai. So, those are the things that we were taught to us very early in life. So for me, honestly, gender bias when I was growing up wasn't there. In fact, I learned cooking from my dad. My mom is not a great cook, and she still hates when I say that. My dad is an awesome cook. So I started, and I love cooking, and I picked up on that interest because I used to see my dad cooking over the weekend. I don't know, Bharat, if you ever step into the kitchen and cooking, Yeah. So good to hear people who know that, because cooking, it's not a gender skill, it's a life skill. So all of us should know, these are basic things, like how driving is a life skill, right? So cooking is so things like that. I was taught driving by my dad, not because he thought ki, women should know how to drive. He taught me driving is because weekend my mom used to nag him to take him out for shopping, and he wanted to give that responsibility to me so that he can watch cricket, ki mummy ko le jao, I don't want to come with her. So things like that, so it was never a gender based role, and both my parents were working. My mom took risk very early in her life. She quit her corporate job, she wanted to start something on her own. My dad supported her, and they started something from very, like, no, it was a very small setup, and obviously we were going through a financial turmoil, not that we had too much of financial backing. So obviously my parents used to be out, and at 9-10 years old, after school, I used to take care of my sister. So small things like that, these just happened automatically, nothing that I had to go through a struggle and all. So I started, indirectly or directly shouldering responsibility very early in life. So life has been roller coaster. I've been, just to give you a brief, while Harish has told you a brief about what I do in Axis, but I've been a banker throughout. Last 15 years I've been in banking. So and I passed out from college. I don't know, even I still, after 30 I have stopped counting my age. So I don't know when I stopped, when I passed out from college. Whenever I passed out from college, my first job was with a bank in Delhi. So and when you go, and as Harish said, yes, there is gender equality, because when you suddenly go, you only see men. And I was like, अरे यहाँ पे तो ladies ही नहीं है, यहाँ पे girls ही नहीं है. Then you know what, I was always comfortable with making friends with guys. In fact, in 15 years I would have handful times, would have had the opportunities to work with women. Most of the time it has been with men. And trust me, it is not that you were discriminated. I'm quite an aggressive woman, and sometimes as Harish said, it will come, अरे बहुत aggressive है यार, when a man is aggressive, अरे यार, he is the boss, and he does this and that. But when a woman is aggressive, अरे बहुत aggressive है, घर पे भी अपने husband को ऐसे ही मारती होगी, those are the things you hear, and these are normal. So what really helped us, like at least me, is that whatever you guys do, right, and it's not a gender specific advice I want to give to anyone. It is applicable to Nishi or to Bharat or Harshika, anybody, whoever is on call. Whatever you do, put your 100%, up your game. Because when you're in, whether you are in university or when you start working, you need a team. See, till now it is very individualistic kind of a role. You work on your CGPAs, you get your job and things like that. But once you're in an organization, what matters is what a good team player you are. So hence, you see, lot of organizations evaluating you on that. So it's not a very gender specific advice, but upping your game would always make sure that you have people to support. And it can be chota sa kaam. So I'll tell you a simple example. I was a management trainee with one of leading banks in Delhi. And first day when I was there, obviously there were a bunch of seniors ready to rag you, right? Array campus se aaye hain, we'll make them do all this thing. So first 1 week we were asked to take photocopies, और वो photocopies भी शिद्दत से किया, photocopy करके packing करके, while, and we were thinking, यार इसीलिए की थी क्या MBA की photocopy करना था. First week was about going, giving the proposals, whatever they're saying, chalo copies lekar aao. And during that time, a smart person would just go through it, and then during break times try to kind of interact with seniors, try to know whatever is there, and trust me, I was the only girl in that empty batch, rest all were boys, and it was a sales job. We were supposed to go do cold calling, go to industrial areas, things were different that time. We didn't have softwares where you can sitting at home, you can find out what's happening and all. You had to really go there. But I never thought in my head, Arey, I'm a girl and I can't do this. Probably that came for the fact that at home, that was never taught to us. We were like taught ki any work can be done by anybody. So the other day, my son was making fun of my driving, and I was sharing this experience with Harish also. It's like, mama, ladies, girls can't drive. So, and he said that, I kept quiet. And then I took him to the corner. I said, okay, tell me what women can do, what man cannot do. So he paused for a second and he said, give birth. I said, yeah. Now you tell me what man can do and a woman cannot do. He said, and he paused and he said, nothing. I said, so this is the example. And he's a 9-year-old kid. And I just realized that I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to inculcate that feeling in that there is nothing in this world as women we cannot do, be it at workplace, be it at family or whatever it is. Yes, as Harish was saying, the responsibility of inclusion or lies not with the minority, but people who are in majority. So and standing up for your rights and talking about what you like, what you don't like, will not make you a feminist. And feminist yani ki we are anti men. So just give you an example that I got married very early. I got married when I was 23, and at that time I was working and my husband was in London. So obviously, that was a decision or a choice I had to make as a person, to either, move with him or continue working, saying that my career was important. Yes, I'm a career oriented woman, but obviously 23, you get married, obviously you want to be with your husband, right? And I was never fascinated to see, going to London, staying there and all. But yeah, and I was doing extremely well by that time in the role I was. So I quit my job. I went to London, and that time it was around 2008 or 2009 when UK was hit by recession, and there was no jobs available. So I was jobless and unemployed, and wo na self respect itna tha ki are shaadi ho gayi, now I don't want to ask money from my husband. When will I get this job? And my husband kept on telling me, why didn't you explore? And we used to stay in this place called Wimbledon, the most beautiful part of London. He said, why don't you just go explore the city? Why don't you? No, I want to get back to work. I want to be independent. I want to do this. I want to do that. And so that's also a negative in me. I realized that I was not in the moment. I said, nahi, jaldi se jaldi, I have to get back to work. So I tried and tried. Then what else I could do? Because it was a vicious circle. UK banks would ask for UK experience, but I have Indian experience. And I was like, what the hell, yeah? Where will this circle end? Then one day, I downloaded Indian High Commission booklet online, that PDF, and I started doing cold calling because that's what I learned, right? Cold calling customers. So started cold calling organizations. Sir, I have moved from India. I have this so and so experience. I'm looking out for a job. Is there anything available? And guess what? There was a temp. So there is something called contract temping jobs in London. It's quite prevalent in Western countries. Now we see that happening here as well. But at that time, it was a very new thing for me. He said, yeah, we have a 3-month contract. Will you be interested? I said, yes. And next day I was ready. I went and shopped for my, whatever interview clothes and all, because I didn't have trousers or whatever. I had all the Indian attire, the stuff. I went and shopped and I went for the interview, and bang on, I got the job. So at the end of the day, and it was a very basic job. Obviously, I didn't stop there. But what made me realize that I am a fighter. Like, I would fight this out, and whatever life throws at me, I'm going to catch it and hit it back to life, you know. So that's the attitude. I think nobody can teach us, you know. We have to be in situation. We all like to be in comfort zone. And trust me, when I was growing up, you know, my dad was so protective about me. He never sent me to a hostel. My sister at least went, you know, she was the black sheep in the family. She used to stand up with this. I used to do all hanky panky stuff, but behind their back, and I would never get caught also, you know. That was the thing, you know. And I was like, इतनी सीधी सादी बच्ची है ये, you know, I was the elder one. So I'm बड़ी सीधी सादी है, इसको तो protect करना है. And you know, driver जाता था. You know, I was a very well pampered, protected kid. From there, going to London, staying there, you know, figuring out, you know, first day my husband handed me a tube map. They're tubes, right? Like your local trains. So tube map. So he gave me, he said, okay, from here, you take this line, this line, and you reach for interview. And I was like, what a mean guy, you know, how can he send me alone? Why can't he just book a cab and send me? Like, why is he doing this? Why can't he drop me? Then I realized that, and you know, us time bhi itna khuddari tha, arey, how can I tell him? It was an arranged marriage. It was not that I knew him from before. So, I overcame my fear, you know, fear of kya hoga. And I was thinking, what will happen? I'll get lost only. No, I will get lost. So theek hai, I'll figure out a way and come back. You know, those are life lessons which have really helped me. And 15 years down the lane, now I look back. Now, sometimes I think, gosh, I did that. But trust me, those are the things that really help you to get through your daily life challenges. And every day there is a new challenge. Trust me, in a leadership role, I don't know, all of us, you know, colleges, universities only assess our IQ, you know, but I don't know how many of us are really focusing on our EQ, because what matters at the end of the day in a leadership role or any walk of this thing is how strong is your EQ. Because I can outsource IQ. Because when you have a team, you can say na ki ye Excel bana do, ye report kar do mere liye. But can I outsource my EQ? I can't outsource. So that's something that is about you, right? And your team would appreciate. And you know, being a woman brings, and as Harish said, that you are labeled as too emotional hai, you know, aggressive hai, emotional hai. But having said that, women at workplace bring empathy, bring that, you know, that empathy factor, you know, and people appreciate that. A lot of men are reluctant to accept it, but you know, now you can assess the body language, you know, that you know, in the man's world, that empathy matters. And at a cutthroat, and it's at the end of the day, it's a rat race, you know, whether you're running fast or less fast, you're still a rat. Okay, so at the end of the day, what makes it different is how empathetic are you within the organization. And women definitely do. So I would, my this thing is, you guys, you know, in next, the reason I wanted to be part of this session, and I was telling Harish, is that 18-20 years back, I was on that side of the table. So I was like Komal and Harshika, trying to listen to the industry expert as to what they're saying, you know, what gyan they're going to give. But, you know, now at this side, you know, I was preparing, you know, I kept on preparing. What should I say? What is relevant for them? Telling that, bhaiya, ye karo, wo karo, aisa karo, waisa karo. It is very preachy, you know. At the end of the day, what are these life lessons, you know? And, you know, we can't, you know, as women, you know, we need support. And guys, there is nothing wrong in asking for help. You know, that is one more thing I learned while I was kind of working, that, you know, after a kid, obviously I wanted to work. I didn't want to sit at home. By the way, there was a time when I wanted to sit at home also. I took a break, but then I was a pain in the backside of everybody in the house. And I just realized that I cannot sit at home. I have to work. This energy of mine has to be directed somewhere. I started baking. I started painting. I enjoyed that time. But, you know, be unapologetic for the fact that you need to have a career for yourself, you know, and you need to have a family or your spouse or whoever it is to understand that. And as Hari said, they are not doing a favor by understanding. They have to understand, you know. So for example, so my mother-in-law is my greatest support, you know. We don't have the Saas Bahu issues. Like, you know, we kind of managed it. 15 years we are married. And I always tell that for all the fights I have with my husband, my greatest blessing is my mother-in-law, because she understands me more than my husband sometimes, I feel, you know. So the fact remains that she has been a working woman herself. And so initially when I was like just married, no, so whenever my husband would like to do something, I would say, I will do it. You know, starting ka new pyar. So then my mother-in-law called me and said, never say no when they are helping. Trust me, that's something that I have taught him. Let him do this. So, the fact that doing laundry is going and cooking a meal for the family, it is not women's job alone. It is a man's job too. So hence my question to Bharat and everybody, how many of us really step into the kitchen and try to, I think Harish doesn't step into, I can see that expression, Harish. So you make.
I'm an incredibly bad cook.
That's
My dog doesn't eat the food that I cook. Forget everyone else.
so then for everyone's interest, then you shouldn't cook them. So yeah, things like that, so it's there are no special privileges coming to us because we are women or we are man. That is something that starts from the family. Discrimination, like small things. I would just want to digress a little bit, 30 seconds off topic, that referring people to as Harish says, sexual preferences or the way they look, the color of their skin, are they thin, they're fat, this is very normal. We do it unknowingly. So as a kid, I always I struggled with weight issues. I had eating disorders, and I thought that it started off with family, like ho ladki hai, moti hai, kaise hoga, ye hoga, wo hoga, things like that. What are your other talents? Talk about something else, something I'm good at. That she's good in cooking, she's good in painting, she does her work, she's a successful woman, she's whatever, she's an entrepreneur, she's a great this thing, blah blah blah. But no, everything gets stuck on gori hai, samli hai, moti hai, patli hai, and those are things, and I struggle and I still struggle. Your body image plays a major role, and it's a constant fight within to tell yourself that doesn't prove your worth. People saying that. So I made it a point with my son that we address people by their name. There is no other this thing. There is a people, and I'm very proud of that. And trust me, sometimes I try to check his knowledge also. So if there is somebody who's a little overweight or little thin, so I'll try, who is that? I want him to say that, but he never notices that. He will say something completely different. Oh, mama, look, she's wearing a bright lipstick, or she's wearing a good whatever, the outfit or whatever it is. So I'm happy that these are the changes that happens from family. So these are small things. We don't have to be great entrepreneurs or CEOs of the companies to do that. These are basic things which can start as women. And women ungli pe nacha bhi sakte hain hum, aur hum naach bhi sakte hain, but that depends on us. So when we nachao people, this is how we know. What we teach our family, we come inside and tell our family, raise our kids, which are future generation, determines our success. So, and working is choice, guys. I would never say that jo work karta hai wahi hai. A lot of people, I have friends who have done amazingly well when they're in college. They had got the best of campus placement. But when I speak to her, I was like, "Arey, kya chal raha hai?" No, yaar, I want to retire. I want to sit at home. I want to take care of the kids. So sometimes I feel, Ari, she's wasting her life. No, but that's a choice. So choice of working, not working should always lie with us. You want to take a break. You want to sit at home, rethink about what you want to do in life. That is your choice. That is not the choice that, it is not your husband's choice or your parents' choice or anybody's choice. So those are the things which I kind of learned during my journey. Second most important thing I learned is speak up. Speaking up what is right is very, very important. Asking questions is important. So sometimes, hum itne sharma jate hain. Should I ask this question? What will the faculty think? What will, if I ask a silly question, Harish is going to think, usko itna bhi nahi aata. हम इस शर्माहट में हम रह जाते हैं and we don't learn. The first step of learning is to ask questions. I still ask questions. I ask questions from my team members. You have a different view. What is your view? Let's discuss it. And there is no, I sometimes ask questions with, when my son is talking, I'll kind of ask, I didn't understand. Can you explain it to me? So there is nothing wrong in asking questions, clarifying your doubts. Those are most important things, speaking up. Sometimes the most times I have regretted is when a meeting ho gaya hai ya koi life situation, I have not spoken up. When I come out, I'll say, Arey, I should have said that. I would have tackled the situation differently, in a team meeting when I didn't agree to what my boss said, but I didn't say because I will be going against, I'll be the black sheep. People would think that she's becoming a rebel, she's becoming Jhansi Ka Rani. I didn't say it, but later on I would have said, had it been ki bola hota, it would have worked for me, you know. So speaking up is a most important thing. And one thing that really helped me is, guys, we need to have a mentor, you know. At least that helped me. We all want to have somebody with whom we can confide, you know, we can talk. Like my husband is so my husband thinks he's a great counselor. He can counsel me all the time, because I really don't give that this thing. So very, you know, sometimes now he becomes too preachy, so now I don't go to him only, because but at workplace it's always good to have a mentor. You know, you can have a mentor at faculty level, or somebody you can talk about. We all need those reassurances. We need to know that, are we doing the right thing, you know, are the steps taken by us are correct or not. So, you know, that really helped me. So I had a lot of mentors. I won't say I stuck to one. I had, like, when I started a job, my boss was my mentor, you know. So till 10 years or some 5-6 years of my career, he used to advise me. I used to call him, sir, ab kya karna, what do you think, should I take this, you know. And it's always better to have that open chat. And, you know, most of the times, you know, like when you are competitive, and I'm quite competitive, huh? I'm a very competitive, aggressive ladki. So sometimes in a leadership role, you need to have empathy along with competitiveness. So that only will come when you have people around you to kind of advise you. Sometimes you need that advice, and never be shy. You know, we don't, you know, as Hari said, I am not miss know it all. I would not know anything, like not everything. So you need to have people who kind of help you with those things. And one great thing that helps me is take time out for yourself. Please be unapologetic to spare that half an hour, 40 minutes, 1 hour for yourself every single day. Being a mother, trust me, when I come back home, there are days when I've had a really crappy day at work. When I come back home, so, you know, there is time that I need that 40 minutes of my time to rejuvenate and take my house responsibility. So, you know, be unapologetic about it. Exercise, listen to music, read. Just because you're a mother, you don't have to do it, you know. So don't think about that. How much ever rights a man has, a woman also has the same right. Just that we underestimate ourselves, you know. We kind of don't give ourselves so much. Arey nahi, abhi to ghar ka bhi karna hai. You know, I always tell my husband, why don't you come from work and why don't you cook for me? So now he does once in a while, but, you know, there's nothing wrong in asking for that, you know. And don't feel sorry about it. Most of the time we feel guilty about the whole thing. And don't get carried away by general bias, like, you know, as Harish was saying, that women are aggressive, you know, women are emotional or things like that. You don't have to get carried away. Please, what is your strength, you realize it and you kind of work towards it. So and never be scared of pressing your reset button. So with me, what happened was, I was in Delhi, then I moved to London, there I found a job, then we moved back to India, again I had to quit my job. So in last 15 years I would have changed some 4-5 jobs, okay, and I would have worked with some 10 bosses, okay. So, and I just realized, every time I used to think, अरे यार फिर से करना पड़ेगा, at this stage also फिर से करना पड़ेगा. But the thing is, when you're out of your comfort zone and when you start resetting your button again and again, you feel that nothing can shake you up. Any challenge that comes your way, you're ready to accept it. And guys, there are sacrifices. There are sacrifices I made as a woman. You know, I at every point I felt that when I was getting into that high of my career, I had to kind of cut down for my family. I had to shift jobs because my husband was moving and all. But there are no regrets because I did it happily. Because you know, there is nothing that, yes, those are sacrifices, but when I look back, things worked out for me. And but having said that, what really helped me was not to be scared to press the reset button. नहीं, मुझे ये नहीं करना, मैं यही करूंगी because I'm comfortable. So as soon as वो था ना, chair पे बैठे बैठे वो निशान नहीं आ जाता हमारे, our butts will start making a shape on the chair na, because we are sitting on that constantly and there is a thing. That means we are comfortable in that chair. We have to kind of keep moving and accepting the fact that life is going to be tough. We have to start, you know, accepting challenging situations. And challenging situation is not a large project or a tough, crappy job. It can be anything. It's about moving places, taking an assignment, coming. And I just wanted to tell you, I was an art student. But when I took in MBA, I took my majors was finance. Everybody thought ये तो risky है, ये तो बर्बाद करेगी, मतलब she will India. I didn't know how to balance asset and a liability, because I'm not from an accounts background. I was told by my professor, as a manager, business manager, you will have accountants to do that for you. You need to know कि asset side में जो आया है वो क्यों आया है और liability side पे आया है वो क्यों आया है. So we need to understand that. So I came out of my comfort zone. I was an art student, did finance major, went to banking, crazy movements, but I don't regret, made mistakes in life, but guys, we learn from our mistakes, and please be open about making mistakes, because we don't make mistakes. You guys are young, age is on your side. Make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and that's what it is. And this is the best time of your life, trust me, because as we get older, we're like, "Arey, 10 saal pehle we were better off," like we used to crib about everything at that point. But now when I look back, those were the best moments of life. So enjoy that, and please take life as it comes. Don't be, now you guys would be preparing for your placements and things like that. Don't get carried away and get hassled, and compete with yourself. Don't try to compete with others. Be a better version of yourself every day. It's not that अरे उसका इसमें placement हो गया, उसका CGPA ऐसे आ गया. Things like that really helps you. And it's not a very gender related advice, but it is for everybody, that we need to be competing with ourselves, and things will work out. And this is what my mentor said, that in a span of 10 years things equalize. So people who were ahead of you might go be a little behind you, or people who were behind you will be ahead of you. So life kind of neutralizes everything. So we have to have the focus, enjoy life, and don't take things so seriously, and enjoy everything as it comes. And as Hari said, now we are in a generation where people talk about things like that. But when we were in your place, I had industry experts coming and talking about industry related issue, but we never had a session about inclusion, diversity. These are such important topics, and these are things which starts from our household, our families. And we are part of the the blessed generation. I don't know what your generation is called, Gen Millennials or Gen, what is it called, Gen X? I don't know what is this generation. Gen Z. Gen Z, okay. And okay, so Gen Z. So the Gen Z are very, very much aware of their rights and choices. So use that and be happy about where you are, and all the best. And thanks for giving me this opportunity. I just went on and on and on, but any questions, more than happy to take it.
Ma'am, it was really great to listen to you, and it was truly inspiring, because there are a lot of women who hold back their career and their ambitions just for their family. But I think it is an inspirational story, and it is inspiration for everyone, that they should not hold back. They should at least do something and follow their goals. They should do something to complete their goals. It was really inspiring.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we do have a question for you in the chat box. I would like to address it. Sir?
Yeah. Well, yeah, tell me. Sorry.
We
It's
do
for
have
me,
a
is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So society counseling, education is very important. So this is a question posted, that what are your views and how can it be implemented if someone wants?
I think by opening minds. I mean, what Tina was speaking about her family, what I was speaking about. I think the only way is by. I mean, where do we start? I mean, the question often is कि कहाँ से चालू करें? Society, if the mindset has to change, where does it start? It starts from you. Okay. Now, if Tina is listening to this talk, you guys might become parents tomorrow. So you know that your children have to be educated about child sexual abuse, that a penis should be called a penis, a vagina should be called a vagina, and not any din or any other thing. So it starts with all of us, right? So society, we often think of society as this divorced phenomena, that samaj, zalim samaj. So zalim samaj is somebody else. It is not us. No, zalim samaj is all of us. So if we can ensure that in Amity University we'll make a change today, we have changed society. Society is what what our surroundings are, right? And that's a changing phenomena. That doesn't stop at one person. That doesn't stop at judiciary. Can you ensure that you have a counselor in Amity University who will listen to people? Can you ensure that you have no, why students who are queer? If you have if you have professors who happen to be queer, I still go and teach in 1 or 2 colleges in Bombay, and my first lecture to them is that I ask them, I said, do you have a Christian professor? Do you have a Muslim professor? In the same thing, I ask, do you have a gay professor? They'll say no, and then tell him, congratulations, you have one. You know, so even in that fraternity, why do you assume that students will be queer? Your professor can be queer. Be open to that mind, open to that idea. So I think your principal could be queer. Anyone could be queer. Okay, so I think open possibilities and accept people the way they are, and that can start anywhere. So society is not this broad phenomena that somewhere else it happens. Counseling, society, education needs to start here, right here. I mean, if Nishi, you're listening to this, you can go and educate. It's not just that children often just as Tina was stressing on a very important point, or she was telling about her child, she doesn't understand something that her child speaks because they obviously belong to 2 different generations. She goes and asks her child. So can we educate our parents about it rather than cribbing that our parents don't understand? So you might not be gay, but what if your child happens to be gay tomorrow? Right? So educate your parents right now itself for the possibility, because they're going to be coming in a very different world, a world where to speak about these things is not going to be a taboo. And at that time, instead of giving them a culture shock, educate them today. Go with the possibility that everything that is different is right. There's nothing that all of us are variations and not aberrations. You know, so once we come to that thought, the difference between variation and aberration is something that's wrong. Variation is something that's different. All of us are different, right? So I think that's where the conversation, society still, in fact, I come from a South Indian family. So my Bua one day came, one relative of mine actually came and told my mother, अरे हरीश की इतनी उम्र हो गई है, 40 साल का हो गया, शादी करा दो उसकी. So my mother just looked at her, smiled and said, कोई लड़का मिलेगा कर दूंगी. And that auntie just didn't know what to say after that. I said, आपके नजर में है कोई लड़का? My mother didn't leave after that. आपके नजर में है कोई लड़का? कोई and then नहीं हम तो ऐसा नहीं है. नहीं, आपका लड़का भी अच्छा दिखता है, उसके साथ वो गे है, क्या है वो, पता है आपको? मतलब my mother just went on and on behind hammer and tongs. So people need to understand these things, you know. So society is who? Society is you and me. Society is not some alien phenomena. जालिम समाज नहीं होता, जालिम हम होते हैं, हमसे समाज बनता है.
Yes. So definitely, and support from family and friends is the biggest pillar, biggest strength one can get. So definitely we can educate our parents and everyone we meet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you so much, Nishi, and thank you, Tina, because this was, you know, usually we have these conversations which are more like, चलो कैंपस प्लेसमेंट करते हैं, तो हम लोग आके हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स, हमारे ऑफिस, हमारा ऑफिस कितना अच्छा है, कितना खूबसूरत है, हर ऑफिस बोलेगा ना, like
Yes.
every campus that comes would be saying that our campus is so beautiful. Then you'd be wondering कि okay, तो इसमें से beautiful कौन सा है सच्ची में, right? So the truth is the intention was not to tell you that Axis Bank is the best. We are still learning. We are not the best. We are still telling you. We never want to believe that we are number one. We still want to be working, because number one believe करने से एक होता है कि हमने तैयार कर लिया कि हम number one है और अभी now we are hanging our boots. You know, we don't want to do that. We still don't want to be in the number game, but we want to be in the game of going to society and speaking to people, spreading the thought. That's why Tina's talk was so important. That she didn't come and give some gyan कि ऐसा कुछ बोलेगी कि placement तुम कैसे crack करोगे, 5 tips to crack the placement. वो सब उसने नहीं बोला. She just spoke about her life. I just spoke about my life, and speaking about, and this is the touch that we have lost in our academic lives. We don't speak. I mean, if I was to ask you, the names of the partners of 5 of your professors, you will not know that also. कि हम पहले जमाने में हम जब हम पहले I don't want to sound very old, I'm only sweet 42, but you know, एक जमाने में हम सब जानते थे हमारे प्रोफेसर्स के बारे में, everything. So I think that camaraderie is something that needs to be reignited in today's world, and that was the intent over here. Both of us from Axis Bank, and Soumya also is there in the audience. It was our intent to just come and speak to you and just generally have a light-hearted conversation. And even after this, if there's some doubts, some conversations, you want to speak to Tina, you can reach out to me. Kevin has Tina's email ID. I don't think, please don't call her in the middle of the job. But email लिखना है, तो you can write to her also. And I'm just telling on your behalf itself, Tina.
Yeah.
ये होता है, ये होता है mansplaining. इसको बोलते हैं mansplaining. Which I should not have done. Yeah, I realize that.
More than happy to interact with everyone. Yeah.
And being a finance student, we may take guidance from you because
Yes,
we have the same field.
Done.
अरे
For
टीना
sure.
ने बोला
Most
ना,
welcome.
टीना ने आर्ट्स किया है, मैंने साइंस किया है, और मैं कहाँ हूँ अभी. You know, मैं मजाक उड़ाया करता था बैंकर्स की. मेरे को लगता था because there are some stereotypes that even queer people want to believe is true, that we are very creative people. मेरे को लगता था ये बैंकिंग जाके मैं ऐसा सूट वूट पहन के मैं नहीं जाऊंगा. I used to make fun of bankers, and now all my old friends actually bully me now. They call me up and say, "अभी तू गया ना बैंक में." So you don't know where life will take you. Though of course I wear my colorful outfits to bank also, but yeah, that's the whole thing.
So one more thing I wanted to say was never say never. Huh? So that is one thing I've learned. Never say, I will never do this. But life will make you put you in a situation that you'll end up doing this. So never say never in life, you know, be ready to do everything in life. That's the mantra right now, you know.
Right. So as we approach to the end of this amazing talk show, I must say it has been a wonderful interactive session with our respected guests. And now I would like to invite Dr. Manju Kaushik ma'am to share her kind words about the session.
Am I audible, Nishi?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Harish, Miss Tina. A man is great by deed, not by birth. You prove this, and I'm very man was saying कि आज संडे है और सब अपना संडे ऐसे कोई मूवी देखेगा, कोई ये करेगा और यहाँ पे वो कर रहे हैं. अगर हम आज आपका सेशन मिस कर देते हैं, या जिसने भी मिस किया है उसने बहुत कुछ मिस किया है. सच में आपसे बातें, आपकी बातें सुन के और आपसे इतना इंस्पिरेशन मिला है और इतना वो मिला है, बस मेरे मन से ये लिख रहा है कि गॉड ब्लेस यू बोथ. एंड टीना, जब टीना अपने बारे में कुछ बता रही थी कि मेरे पापा बहुत प्रोटेक्टिव थे, और मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था जैसे वो मेरी स्टोरी बता रही हैं. वी आर ऑल 3 sisters and my father was all very protective, and my husband also stayed in Ukraine, and he also gave me the map and asked me to do this and that work. And when you were saying, I think you just saying my history. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, Tina, for being with us and give your valuable time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Keep in touch, and God bless you both.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I would just say that June is over, but that does not mean the pride is. This session is not just about begging of breaking the stereotypes and accepting the equal rights. So I would now like to thank our wonderful speaker, Mr. Harish Iyer. Sir, your words are an inspiration to all the young minds out there. And I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude.
I'm also a young mind only. So yeah.
And I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our special guest, Ms. Tina Thomas, for her enlightening words and sharing her valuable thoughts and journey with us. I would also like to thank Dr. Manju Kaushik ma'am, the organizing chair, for her kind support. And a very special mention for Mr. Sahil Bhuthani and the entire IT team and Team Entrepreneurship Cell AUR for their tireless efforts and dedication in organizing such series, and to the wonderful audience present here. But before leaving, stay tuned with us throughout this month with our exciting and new speakers. Our next session will be on 10th and 11th of July on Instagram Live and Zoom respectively. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Sachin sir, you can close the session.
Okay, thank you, sir.